Greetings, Polynauts. My name's Chief Commander Mars, and today I'll be taking you through a full Polynize game tutorial so you can get the best out of your Polynize experience. You ready? Let's jump in. Okay, so the first thing you see when you get to mission control is a list of all the current missions. The first thing you need to do, though, is sign in. So come up to the right-hand corner, and you can sign in with either of the Algorand wallets, cross-chain wallet integration coming soon, or you can log in with Twitter or your Google account. Do note that to mint any assets, you will need to connect a blockchain-based wallet. So I'll go and connect my Algo wallet, hit authorize, throw in your password, and bang, we're all set to go. Cross that out, and now you can see my little icon avatar in the corner there, and I'm ready to go. So what are we looking at here? Each one of these missions gives you a bunch of information so you can decide whether you want to join it. First and foremost is the mission challenge, which is plain here in green. Underneath that, you can see hashtags that are associated with the mission. This is going to be handy in the coming months as more and more missions come onto the dashboard. You can come up into the search bar here and search for hashtags that suit your skill set and then join the missions that suit you most. On the right here, you can see the status, the type of mission, who it's been backed by, and the amount of the prize pool. So for this tutorial, we're going to go down to a past game, which we did with the awesome Algoana crew. Here we have the mission briefing in words, and we also have an audio version, which is done by the backer, and then some details about the game status, what phase it's in, and the play game button. So let's jump in. Hit the start button, you can read the challenge. This gives you the briefing once again, just to make sure you know where you are in audio and text format. And this is important. So these are targets that are set by the backer to make sure that the polys, the strategies that you come up with during the game, hit a particular criteria. And we'll get into this a little later, but these are super important. Hit play game. Okay, welcome to the game arena. A lot to go through here, so we'll take it easy starting from the center. So in the center here is your poly. So as you go through the game, your goal as a player is to create one idea and evolve that over time that solves this mission challenge. What you can see here around your poly is your spark circle, and then around that are all the other polys that are in the game. So each one of these polys represents another player in the game. Top left here, you see what you're playing for currently. You have a refresh button here. If there's any bugs in the system, usually a quick refresh helps. And speaking of help, if you hit the help button, you can go through essentially what I'm talking about here in brief format, just to give you a bit of a summary of how to go through the game. Down here, we have mission comms, so you can see what's happening in the game. We have a history button here, which flips the comms on the right here to a history of the polys you've looked at, which is super helpful during gameplay. You have the mission briefing here on the left, which gives you the mission briefing again if you need it. And in the center here, this is your power score. Now, your power score determines your ranking in the game, which you can see here on the left, which is the mission leaderboard. And every single action that you do in the game contributes to your power score. So up here, this section gives you some good details of where you are in the game, what generation you're at, what phase the game is currently in. So there's 3 phases: the create phase, the play phase, and the analyze phase. Those phases have different timings. So for instance, they might be the create phase might go for 12 hours, the play phase might go for 24 hours, and the analyze phase might go for 12 hours. So generally games go for around 48 to 72 hours. And the create phase is the first of them, important phase to go through, where you have time to create your idea before moving on to the actual gameplay. And we'll go through that process of how to create an idea in a second. This section also shows you how many polys you've created, how many you've sparked, and how many you've pollinized, which we'll go through. And of course, in the top corner here, just for a reminder, is the current mission challenge. Okay, so let's go through the process. The first thing you have to do in create phase, as it suggests, is create your own poly. To do that, you hit the plus at the center of the game arena. It'll give you the mission challenge again to remind you. You hit create, and now this is how you create your poly. You have 3 things to do: record an audio, type the text, and upload your image. Image is optional, but we highly recommend it. The best polys have really well thought through audio pictures. The text is very neat and well structured. and they've uploaded some kind of image to support that. You might want to draw a diagram or a flow chart to explain it a little more. This is highly recommended because it comes across really well in Spark and Polynize phase, which we'll get to in a minute. So the first thing you do is hit record. Hit the record button and begin to record your pitch. I love playing Polynize, and what I usually do is I take notes on a note app, I script my poly, and then I make sure that I sit here for a good amount of time to deliver my poly as best I can. If you don't like it, you can stop, cross it out, and start again. Okay, that was enough to satisfy the recording element. In here, type a few more words. Okay, so I've added an extra little bit of detail there. Hit continue. Okay, so at this point, I'm ready to deploy my poly. And if I want, I can upload an image here, hit upload, choose your image, and you're ready to go. Continue. At this point, I'm ready to deploy my poly. So take your time. There's no bonus points for deploying your poly quicker in create mode. Take your time and create your best poly to begin with. Hit deploy. At this point, we have to create a title and a little preview for my poly. My poly was about collaborating with cross-chain projects. So I'm going to write a nice Sparky hashtag. And this, I cannot stress enough, this is the first thing another player will see when they go to Spark your poly. So make sure you take your time with this process and write a really clear preview sentence. You only have 100 characters and a really Sparky hashtag to make sure to really stand out in the game. Okay, so this is my preview, ready to deploy. So once you hit deploy, okay, so your poly has been deployed to the game arena. Next thing you got to do is the Spark process. So this is the process of looking around the game arena and finding other polys that you really like, that really excite you, that spark some interest, and that you want to potentially merge your poly with, collaborate. Let's go through that process now, and I'll show you what happens. So the easiest way to do that, you can go around and select polys on the board if you want, but the easiest way is just to press the plus button. It'll randomly generate a poly. Okay, so we've randomly generated a poly to look at. And this is the process of sparking that we're going to go through now. And what we're looking at here is someone else's poly. So let's have a look around. The first thing we can see is the challenge, what generation the poly's at. We can see the consensus score. We have some stats here as well. We have their heading, their preview, and we can see that they've 100% filled in the audio, the text, and uploaded an image. So automatically, this is already looking pretty sparky. In the spark phase, you can't see the entire idea. So it's important that you write a really cohesive preview and heading in order to spark people's attention. And also what you can do is look into the stats. You can see some stats here on who's evolved it. So we can see that the creators already evolved this idea once. It's been sparked by other players. It's been pollinized by other players. So it might be a good idea. And that's really shown by this consensus score here. So as you look around, take note of the consensus score. That could be a good indication of whether it's a good poly or not. Okay, so now I'm going to go through a process of looking at all the polys, finding the ones that spark me, and adding those to my spark circle. Okay, so I've sparked 6 of my favorite polys now, and as you can see, they've come into the center spark circle. I can see up in the left here that I've sparked. So now the next thing I have to do is pollinize. So what does pollinize mean? Pollinize is looking at the 6 polys that I've sparked and choosing the 3 that I think are clearly the best. And now that you've sparked it, you can actually open it up and listen to the audio. So now that I can actually listen to the full audio.
Think for a moment. What do you like best about
what the pitch is about? Read the text. And once you've done those 2 things, you can see that the Polynize button has come up. You can also have a look at the image. So once I've looked at all of that, if I think it's a great idea and I really want to pollinize it and move it forward into the next generation, I can hit pollinize. And that idea has been pollinized and is sitting in my spark circle now. Now, the next thing you can do is analyze the poly. So if I hit analyze, and this section's super important. So what this is doing is you're thinking about the mission challenge and you're thinking about this particular pitch and you're analyzing the pitch to see if it's on target. Now, it's important that you do this correctly because you do get points for it. And that's a process of going through, thinking about the pitch you've just listened to and answering these questions. Will this poly attract collectors? Yes, I believe it would. Is it easy to implement? Yes. Is it low cost? Oh, that might have been a bit expensive, I think, that one to implement. So I'll cross that one off. Coherent strategy, yeah, it was presented quite well. It's feasible to implement, definitely, and can be developed further, definitely. So out of the 6 targets, I've given it 5 out of 6. Hit complete, and you've essentially completed 1 poly there. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that to my favorite 3 polys. And there you go. So I've pollinized 3 of the 6 that I've sparked. And as you can see here, the next generation button comes up, and I've finished 1 generation of Polynize. And Polynize is essentially that generation process repeated over and over again as you evolve and collaborate with other ideas. As you can see, by doing that entire process, my score has gone up. And as other people spark and pollinize my polys, my score will go up also. So let's hit the next generation button and see what happens next. Okay, so here we are evolved into generation 2. We can see there's less polys active in this generation. And you essentially need to go through the same process with a little twist. The create phase this time is what we call evolve. So the evolve phase is basically looking at the polys that you pollinized as well as your own poly. My one was this one at the bottom. And thinking to yourself, okay, what do I want to do at this point? Do I think my idea is the best and I just want to evolve my idea? If so, click yours, open it, and hit evolve. And you'll see mine's at the top now with the tick. But if I think one of these is actually really good, I really like this idea of a pixel art contest. And my idea was about cross-chain collaborations. I think I might like to merge those 2 ideas together and evolve those 2. So what I'll do is I select that, you can open the poly again, you can read it, listen again to jog your memory, and then hit evolve. And then you'll see those 2 polys are selected. I might put those things together and say my new generation 2 idea is to create a collaborative pixel art contest between Algoana and a cross-chain project. So I've merged those ideas to create an evolution of that, which is super important. Polynize takes an evolutionary approach to creativity. And as you go through these generations, the polys become more refined and more attractive to the backer. So that's basically it for the process of Polynize. That repeats generation after generation to create this evolutionary model of creativity. And the basic idea is that each of us can have a great idea in isolation, but it's when we put our minds together and collaborate in this way that we create ideas and polys that are greater than the sum of their parts. And that's what we're trying to do here. With 10 people, you could have 10,000 people. This process would really generate some interesting ideas that are super valuable for the backer. So when you come to the broadcast panel, once the game's finished, it says game results here. And this will show you an entire summary of the game. It'll give you the top players, the winning players. It'll show you the winning polys, and everything you'll have to know about the game will be here. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you for joining me in this Polynize game tutorial. If you have any questions, please join our Polynize Academy, which is our Discord server. You can find a link on our Twitter account, and we'll answer any questions you have there. We really look forward to meeting you and hosting you in the Polynize game. Transmission over.